A Dean Withers debate popped up on my YouTube algorithm, and he's debating a trans creator. For those of you who are probably aware by now, we have seen this guy all over Disney post the most ridiculous videos and just get the most hate that is well deserved, mind you. Nobody gives a shit what you do on your free time, but just don't get the kids involved. And I think that's what all the smart people, anybody with a fucking brain cell, will tell you that. And if they tell you otherwise, then they are actually retarded. This guy is all over social media. You all have seen him time and time again. And I'm not talking about Dean Withers, I'm talking about the other guy. But let's check it out. Just two bros interviewing each other. Let's find out. Let's see what it's about.
You also asked me why it's wrong to talk about genitalia at Disneyland, because genitalia is a place predominantly for children.
No, it is not.
Yes, it is.
Have you ever heard, like, literally the word Disney adults? It's a whole...
Why is Disney Kids not a thing? Because it's already by default a place for kids.
I get it. You see these videos with Disney adults. It is the most cringe shit in the world. There are people that enjoy baby shit, dude. Not in an Epstein way, no Epstein. People enjoy Disney. If I had an opportunity, hold on, pause. If I had the opportunity, knowing that there was no crazy discoveries on a certain cruise line, I would have taken a Disney cruise a long time ago, just to say I took it. Or at the very least, I would have went to Disneyland or whatever, just in passing. I would have done it for a day, right? But yes, there are extremists everywhere, and Disney adults are one of them.
One who said that you mentioned my name, so I dropped in. And then the second I dropped in, I heard you say something along the lines of that I wasn't a good example for the trans community. So just wanted to kind of get your thoughts on that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I'll share what I know. So first and foremost, I think that there's a handful of things that you do in which serve as regressive to the trans community because they play into the hands of the stereotypes that are perpetuated by the vulgar right. You know, like for instance, I think that there's many videos on your page where you're like talking about like a hot dog sitting in Disneyland, using really simple terms to understand that it could be understood by a child, to talk about like sex reassignment surgery. First and foremost, I don't think that there's anything wrong with like an explanation and education surrounding sex reassignment surgery, but when you're doing it in the context of the environment of Disneyland that's designed for kids, using an example of like a literal hot dog, which is understood by kids with words that could also...
Facts. This isn't even rage bait. I've seen this video. If they don't post it here, I'll put a clip of it if I can find it, but...
Last summer, I got my cake pops removed, and the plan up until recently was to get my marshmallow wand. Really disappointing because I was really excited to have a marshmallow tunnel sooner. That being said,
will be understood by kids. It kind of plays into the narrative that the right sets forth surrounding that, you know, like, oh, like trans people want to like, you know, sexualize and turn all the kids trans, right? Which isn't true. And I also can understand that that likely wasn't your intention in making the video and rather you had good intention. But I still do think that the real world outcome of the right being able to take advantage of that and use it as an example insofar as why they are justified in their vulgar prejudice can definitely be served as an example of how I would like deem you as a little bit regressive to the trans community.
Okay. Well, here's what I'll say to that. Yes, Disney is partially for kids, but Disney is also a thing for adults. A lot of adults love Disney. There's a whole word for it, Disney adult. And I think there's a narrative that we really haven't...
Why haven't they shown bro's face yet?
...talked about enough, which is when you're talking about like, oh, the right is using this as ammunition against us. The right looks at this and says, ooh, we can use this to say, hey, look at this, you know, trans girl who is essentially, you know, even though none of the videos include children, I'm not talking to kids, I'm just by myself at Disney talking to a camera, but you can look at those videos and say, ooh, it's ammunition. But at the same time, I could sit in my apartment with a corn dog. I could sit in my apartment and use like actual anatomical whatever, right? And people would be making these exact same arguments, right? Like, it doesn't matter if I'm at Disney. It doesn't matter what we do because...
I guarantee you he makes these videos at Disney because he knows he's going to get more views for the background that he's in. He's probably doing that as like a clickbait. Like, hey, I'm talking about something that I could talk about here, but I know that if I do it in my apartment, I'm going to get 60, maybe 80% less views and just look like a fucking mentally ill person in my own apartment.
We're not the ones who are inspiring them to be transphobic, right? That transphobia exists with or without my video. They're going to use anything and everything we do against us.
This isn't even the right. This is just regular, decently intelligent people knowing what you're doing and not even using it as ammunition against the trans community. It's really ammunition against you, bud. Your videos are like mentally ill.
I just happen to like being at Disney World. I grew up on shows like Good Eats, Mythbusters, Bill Nye. Those shows explain interesting but sometimes difficult to understand concepts using engaging, fun things like food and, models and stuff. And I think that, as a trans person myself, as a trans creator, the number one thing in my inbox is always, what about bottom surgery? Tell me about that. I want to know about that. And I'm happy to talk about it because I do think it's shrouded in so much mystery and cis people why would you do that? And I'm happy to answer it. And I also love Disney. So that's why I made that video.
Okay, so first and foremost, I feel like if you were right in the sense of, well, regardless if I were to film this at Disney or at home, they're still going to find a way to use it against me. I would argue that, sure, it is true that a shit ton of people hold a whole lot of prejudice against trans people, and they will use nearly any goddamn action from a trans person in order to, spawn in
All my ops trans the way they thinking they, them.
transphobia. But I feel like what would refute that particular view as it would relate to your actions doing this at Disney, and I like that whole thematic idea of notion of, doing it and teaching it to children, fulfilling that narrative stereotyped by the right, is that you also hear a lot of pushback from people on the left who would be conventionally pro-trans on this subject. And because you hear a lot of pushback from a lot of people on the left who are more conventionally pro-trans, compared to maybe the actions of other trans people who don't get that same pushback from the pro-trans group, would definitely demonstrate that there's still yet a way, insofar as how you're pushing intentionally inflammatory content that pushes the boundaries in ways that lead to more fear-mongering from the right about trans people.
Okay, I hear you. Let me ask you a question then. I am a very clocky trans woman. I have a deep voice. I am tall. I have big
You're a dude. That's it. Period, bro. You don't even get a period.
bones, right?
Why haven't they shown homie either?
I get a common criticism for me is that,
They're probably doing y'all a favor.
well, you're not, working hard enough or doing enough to, pass, right? So let's say that I was a passing trans woman who had a different voice, whose face looked a different way, who you maybe couldn't even tell necessarily was trans. Let's say I made that exact same video in Disney. Do you think that the exact same criticisms would be levied against me if that were the case?
Yes. What you said about using the hot dog and the wiener as the analogy and the explanation of bottom surgery was still done. It would have still been done at a Disney cafeteria at Disney World, Disneyland, whatever. Kids around, you're filming in public. It would have been the same. 100% it would have been the same. If you looked more feminine, homie, I would still give you the Adam's apple check.
Well, I mean, I'd be making the exact same criticism about you, given that it created the same fear-mongering, right?
Based.
By pushing that inflammatory boundary, right?
Well, that's the thing, though. Would it? Right? I'm not talking about your response to the fear-mongering. Do you think the fear-mongering would even happen?
Yes.
Yeah, I do. So listen, I could agree that maybe it wouldn't be exacerbated to the same extent. However, I still do think it would exist because ultimately, a lot of the inflammatory pushback that you hear from the right to create fear-mongering generated on the basis of your content is it saying this trans woman who in their eyes, by the way, I'm not saying this is from my eyes, from their eyes doesn't pass, is explaining this in a sense in which could be considered inflammatory and sexualizing children, fulfilling the stereotype. But they're just saying a trans woman is doing this, right? I feel like, you take a trans woman regardless if they do or don't pass in the eyes of the bigoted right, and you put them in that position, and we're going to hear a very similar response. And I feel like this response isn't just shared by people on the right. It's kind of something that I'm explaining to you right now. And I know the same reservation is held by a lot of people on the left that are conventionally pro-trans. You know what I mean? Once again, being intentionally inflammatory and kind of pushing this boundary to generate that fear-mongering. But maybe it is unintentional and you have good intention when you do it, or maybe it is intentional. It's for more views that ultimately then has more negative second-order reciprocal effects on other trans people and on other members of the trans community.
Okay, all right. I guess my question to you then would be, what is your solution then, right? Is the idea that in order to fight back against transphobia, to change people's minds,
ain't nobody afraid of you, bro. That's what transphobia means. A phobia is a fear. Nobody's afraid of you. We're upset at what you're doing in a public setting catered to a majority of kids. We just do not agree and do not think you should be sharing such crazy things on camera in a public setting at Disney World, dog.
I'm like, hey, we're not sexualizing kids. We're not, invading your bathrooms and taking your sports away, right? Is the idea then to be like well-behaved model citizens, never say anything even a little bit controversial? Are we supposed to kind of be these like goody two-shoes? Because that kind of seems like what you're suggesting, right? Like, yes, I am a provocative content creator. That's just kind of who I am. That's who I've always been. But at the end of the day, when I make the content I make,
Bro, that little smirk said it all, dog. He knows that he's talking to a mentally challenged person.
the idea is not just to rage bait, right? My goal is not to make people mad. It is to provoke a response, right? Even from people like, for example, my dad's side of the family is deeply conservative, and they will never ever be the kind of people who are on the front lines with picket signs against us, right? They will never ever, speak out against, let's say they had a trans colleague. They would never make that situation uncomfortable, but they will always vote red, right?
Okay.
So when I make my content, the idea is to provoke responses from people who are the silent majority of trans folks.
So it all leads back to trauma. You have family members like this. So you started wanting to blow up with their reactions and their responses because you know that they wouldn't do anything in person. They wouldn't publicly bash or shame trans people. And now you're just trying to reach a broader audience of people just like them. I'll say it again. To anybody out there who thinks that they're doing good, leaving a negative comment on something that's objectively fucking stupid on the internet, if they get 10 likes on a video but 10,000 comments, they're still gonna get paid, bro. This is exactly what it is. It's not really rage bait, it's comment bait for this guy's videos, dude. Yes, he's doing it in a shit setting. He's doing it in an environment that should really be fucking frowned upon, which it is. But he's also getting a bunch of views and comments on Instagram, TikTok, all platforms. Even if it's bashing him, he's getting comments. He's getting paid. And if he isn't, thank you, social media gods, algorithm gods.
I have an idea. So point number one, you said, well, Dean, right, it's either, right, that I do this thing that you're accusing of being like intentionally inflammatory and playing into the stereotypes perpetuated by the right about trans people, or I'm some like complacent goody two-shoes. And I don't think that that's a true dichotomy. I think that there's a way to make the content in which you do in advocacy for the trans community without playing into the stereotypes perpetuated by the right. And I think that way is demonstrated by many other trans creators and trans influencers on a daily basis. And in fact, I'll actually give you a test in which I think you could use to prove this to yourself. Earlier you said, Dean, I think that we would see the same pushback against me in my content, given that I made it from my bedroom at home compared to a hot dog at Disneyland. So prove me wrong. Okay, make that same type of content from the bedroom at home for the next year, and I bet by the end of that year that there'll be a significantly more positive view about you from like the left, and there won't be as...
Bro does not have a year to do the same shit in a more contained setting just by himself. Doesn't work that way.
strong like counter responses against you from people on the right. You know what I mean? And on top of that,
you're right. I know you're right. I agree that would probably be the case. But also, if I were to make content out of my apartment for a year, two things would happen. The first is it just wouldn't be interesting content, because I wouldn't be interested in making it, because I like to get out and about, right? Like, I have no interest in hiding from the world, right?
Oh,
Big
so you
part
do
of
it
my
on purpose.
content.
So you do it on purpose, knowing that if you create the content at Disneyland,
absolutely.
it'll be more provocative and inflammatory.
Exactly.
Okay, well, this is one of those situations where I don't think that all publicity is good publicity, and I think that other trans
Exactly.
people really feel the receiving end of that bad publicity, because you are fulfilling, now intentionally we're learning, a lot of the stereotypes perpetuated by people on the right. Like, yes, sure, like a trans person going on the internet and explaining gender sex reassignment surgery with words that like 6-year-olds could understand, using a hot dog at Disneyland is something that will be provocative, is something that will generate that publicity. But you must understand that ultimately that publicity doesn't push the pendulum forward for the social acceptance of trans people across the globe, including in America. And inevitably, a lot of trans people will end up feeling the receiving end of the bigotry that will be spontaneously created the moment more people on the right are able to convince others that trans people are delusional, right? Trans people aren't delusional. Okay, trans people aren't attacking kids. Trans people don't want to make your son, become a girl. Trans people don't want to like go into the women's restrooms and take pictures of little girls and take advantage of them. That's all a lie, okay? And it's a narrative that is being pushed by the GOP in order to get Americans distracted on trans people, on that 1%. So then they're not thinking about the top 1% that's taking their healthcare away, sending their kids to war, and fucking them over on a daily basis through bad public policy only for the benefit of the richest among us. And I feel like as if you're kind of playing into that narrative a little bit, because then you legitimize the stereotypes falsely through the eyes of the bigots, because now they could point towards like real world examples of where these stereotypes materialize. So like, once again, this is a very nuanced conversation where you're not like 100% a bad guy. I do think it's a good thing to be like advocating for like the
100% a bad guy. Dean, that's not very Dean Withers of you, bro. It's pronounced the bad them.
Social acceptance of trans people. Trans women are women, trans men are men. I just simply think that there's a better way to go about it. But ultimately, I want to ask you to listen to me on this point. I'd ask you to listen to like the trans community on this point, which obviously I don't speak for.
You talk about listening to the trans community.
Can I hop in just for 2 seconds, really quick? I'll let you both finish your conversation. Lily, sorry, if I can ask, what are your pronouns?
She, her.
She, her. Okay, perfect. Really quick, and I'll let you guys have it. Chat. Please stop the misgendering in the chat. Be respectful. Keep it together. It doesn't matter whose opinion you actually prefer, whether you agree.
What gay ass moderation is this, bro? That is a guy. Why do you think they are 11 minutes deep and they haven't shown bro? We've all seen him. We've all seen him, chat. We've all seen him.
Disagree. Don't be disrespectful. Don't engage in any type of transphobia in the chat. Please, please, please stop the
It's not transphobia. It's just facts, doggy. Sorry.
misgendering. Stop being intentional. The mods are on it. I'm helping the mods as well. Keep it in the guardrails. Sorry, I'll let you two finish your conversation.
Damn, I'm cooked. I know I'm gonna get swatted like a year into making videos.
Right. So
I'm cooked.
yes, when I make my content, it is provocative, right? Like, I understand that when people see a trans person at Disney World, specifically when I'm talking about the things that I'm talking about, it can provoke response.
Seeing a trans person at Disney World, like just on the regular, seeing a trans person just chilling, going about their day, that's chill, bro. Like, we get it, dude. You're a Disney adult. No matter how you see it, there's some kind of mental illness already with you, bro. But you, on the other hand, is a way different story. The videos that you're posting, you're literally doing it for engagement and for a negative reaction. Now, what Dean said is very true. Not all content is good content. Not all engagement is good engagement. Your videos are literally setting yourself up for real disaster. I've seen the posts or the random videos on the internet where you're at a restaurant and somebody will notice you from your videos and say, "Hey, what's up, bro?" It's getting to be a real-time thing. Like, your life is eventually gonna be in like very great danger when you go out in public. And it's not me, because I don't care. The only thing I care is, leaving the kids out of it. You get people that are, like I said in the beginning of the video, radical, whether that's left or right or just a fucking radical extremist in whatever they do. You're gonna get somebody one day that's gonna come up to you and say, "Hey, faggot, remember that video you posted at Disney? Remember not leaving the kids out of it? I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. And I'm a man and you're a man, so I can do it." Like, it can very well happen, bro. You are putting a target on your head. Now, I don't want to bring this up too much because it's been brought up a lot, but like, look at Charlie Kirk, for example. Charlie was a very, very good talker, but he was not purposefully doing shit like Lily. Look what happened to him, bro. I personally think that Lily's videos doing what he's doing in a public setting, dog, that's like 10 times worse. You're literally a walking target. I don't know. That's just me. If you want to see the rest of this video, go ahead and watch it. I'm going to watch it, but I do not like dragging reactions. I've done a couple already, and there's a cutting point. What did you think about this video so far? Did you watch this video on your own time? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments below. See ya.